Hey, what's up, guys? This is FSU, MPFSU, back with another video. And this is part 2 of the spread offense series. In this video, we're going to get into the run game aspect of it. And then what we're going to talk about is pretty much the bread and butter play, is the dive play, getting a little more detail with that. And what you want to pay attention to is the fronts. And then we're going to go forward with the zone read, with the option, with the quarterback, and then the third option, which is the option read, where you get the wide receivers involved. And so the first thing we talked about in the first video is important is the pre-snap read. And let's go ahead and get into it. And you want to try these plays against multiple fronts, and so you can get a better idea of how the defenses are aligned. In 2013 and 14 version of NCAA, they changed the alignments, and that's for the better because it allows you to attack the defense properly with the offense. So we're going to start off with the stack 3-4-3 defense, and you're not going to see this common against a 4 wide receiver set, but just for the sake of instruction purposes, we're going to use this. Now, so if you pay attention right now, the 4-3 defense is a one gap defense. And what I mean by one gap is each player is assigned a gap. And so if you look where the gaps are, so there's a gap on each side of the center. The B gaps are outside the guards, and the C gaps are outside the tackles. And if you have a tight end, there's a D gap, which we'll get into the tight end situation later in several videos down the line. But as you see, the dive is designed to attack the A gap. And so you want to pay attention to where those D tackles are lined up. Are they lined up in the gap in which you are running? Because that will you'll be set up better for success if they're not. So in this situation, they're not, and most 4-3 defenses, they're not. So that's you're going to be able to have success, especially with the linebackers spread out just like that. And that's what your pre-snap read. That's what the spread does. It makes the linebackers spread out, and that's how the alignment allows the spread to properly attack a run defense like the 4-3. All right, so. All right, now let's show you the 4-3 under real quick. And let's see, pick the dive. And 4-3 under. Now, 4-3 under has better gap presence because they actually align everybody into those gaps to the strong side of the defense. And so, strong side of the offense. So it makes it a little more difficult, as you see. The D tackle is now aligned into the gap, A gap, which we are running to. So you want to promptly flip the play. And so now we're taking our chances with the linebacker versus a D tackle lined in that gap, which is better for us. Now it's not going to be the best. So in this, when you see the D line aligned like that, it's most likely a under, or it could be an over if they have it flipped. So keep in mind, if the D tackle is aligned into your gap, is most likely going to be an underfront defense. All right, so and you want to kind of flip the play and get it aligned, get your offense set up correctly to properly attack them. It's still not gonna, because you're gonna have a lot of issues unless they're spread out like this, which in that case, you may have a better chance. But you see right there, if I run it, see how that D tackle is holding that gap, and I mean, you're just putting too much pressure on the center to. Now, if you have a devastating center, then go with it. But like I said, this is going to give you a more successful opportunity to run the ball, and this is what you have to pay attention to in the pre-snap read. And so, okay, then let's go with the moving forward. Now I'm not going to show the nickel because the nickel is pretty self-explanatory. There's only 2 linebackers who are going to be more successful. But what I'm going to show you is 2-gap style defense, which is the 3-3-5. We'll get into more in depth with the 3-3-5 in later videos, but right now this just gives you an example that this is a 2-gap defense, so it makes it a little harder to run to the interior because you have somebody already over the center as is, and they have to double team them, which is zone blocking is nice for that, but just pay attention to where the safeties are aligned up. In this case, they're aligned too high, so it's just easy for you to run, not to worry about these safeties getting involved into the run game. Okay, so keep that in mind, but your center has to dominate. If that D tackle dominates him, you're not going to be successful running the ball there. All right, so let's move on. Now, say you got that established and you're popping 10 yards to run. And the key when running that dive as well is make sure you don't hit the speed burst until you're in open green, and you're not gonna be open green a lot in running a dive play. It's not gonna happen very often. So uh, only train yourself to not hit that button. And plus it burns energy in 2014 version of the game. So you're gonna, I didn't make any jukes there, but you'll be able to make some jukes and kind of juke some linebackers or safeties if you aren't hitting the speed burst. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're doing that. Let's go ahead and go into the zone read. Now the zone read, I'm going to show that. I will show that against the nickel, just for the sake of making the video shorter. I'm going to show that against the nickel. Against those alignments, remember what I was telling you, and I'll show it to you here. You'll see it here once I go nickel. All right. That in this case, now you see where the zone read is running, that D tackle is shaded to that gap, and he's right in the A gap. And so we want to make sure we can run that dive play if they have contain on. And most users will put contain on for the defensive end and give you that dive play. So you want to be able to, you can run that dive play in space. So make sure, if they're going to be on contain in this situation, I'll show you what happens when they're not on contain. Now it's still easier to run, but like I was saying, if you're facing a user that has a good defense or even good user skills at the defensive line, you want to make sure you have a better situation. So I like to flip it and see where the guys run into that A gap. There's no D tackle there, so you want to make sure you can run there, and it's just going to give you a better situation overall. All right. And they're not, I'm trying to see if he would contain. He's not containing. See if we can get him to contain. Okay, there's a contain. There was a contain. And let's see if we can get him to do it again. I won't do it again, but you get the gist of it. Most users will contain, so just get used to running this. Try to run it as good as you can. Try to run it as much as you can to get that contain. So, but if you don't get contained, you may get stuff like this. So that's why most users contain anyway. All right, so that is that. I'm going to show you the 335 version, and then we're going to keep it moving. All right. 335. All right. All we're doing is reading that guy and keeping it if he comes down, and if he stays at home, we're going to hand it. But in this case, they keep keeping it. They don't do that, so we're going to keep it. Derek keeps it, and that's why this defense is definitely detrimental to that dive play. They'll kill that dive play with that interior defense. As you can see there, they're eating it up. So I just wanted to show you that so you'll know, because the 335 is going to be more difficult to run that dive, but there's other ways to do it, and I'll show you in some other videos. And it's kind of a tribute to Urban Meyer, which I hate. I want to throw up right now, but let's go ahead and keep it moving and go with the options. So these are your big hitters, the zone read and the option with the wide receivers, your big hitters. You want that dive play constantly. And these is if they are playing out of position and not playing their assignments properly, you can definitely test the gap integrity of the defense. Now, what I want to show you here is, and this is not actually giving me a good example, but you want that dive play. And in this situation, he is going into the defense like we showed before. Now, so what we want to do is flip the play and have him running into this other gap. But as you can see in this other gap, it is kind of taken, we're running into the B gap, which is kind of taken away by the D tackle. But in this situation, you have one-on-one blocks, and even that center may be able to double team him if you get that dive play going. And so we're going to run it and see if he contains here. He doesn't contain, but we can pitch, and that is another thing that I like about this. A linebacker is better in space for tackling in the game, but a nickelback is not as good. Now, obviously, you may have a safety there who are a bit better at tackling in space, so be wary of that if you're playing against 3-3-5, and I'll show you that here in a second. But what we want this option to go in the direction of that nickel, because we want that nickel back to. We're going to put pressure on him to be able to make a play in space and make a decision. He's not normally good at that, so we want to attack him. You know, even if he goes for the quarterback here. Now, if you have a safety high like that, you got to take it. If you see that read, the pitch man is the safety, you want to take that because that's going to be to your advantage every single time. Now, if you don't have the safety high like you have here, just flip it over, give it to the nickel, give that responsibility to the nickel, and we're going to put pressure on that nickel. Yep, there he comes. There's the pitch, and that's going to be a touchdown because our guys can block. All right, or a big game. So keep that in mind. Who you want to have the pitch responsibility when you're running this option play. Now, if they decide to contain, which they aren't yet. Oh, that was a mistake by me. You still have to read that. Keep in mind, you still have to read that. Let's see here. See if he'll contain here. All right, he has contained, and that's going to give us yards as well because that's actually what we want against this nickel defense. Run it one more time. Okay, that one they scraped. So, all right. And if you start to get them to scrape and blitz, you won. Then you can start, and I'll get into the next video about the screen game. But right now we're going to do it against the 3-3-5, and let's go ahead and run that against the 3-3-5. I'm just going to flip it right now for stakes. All right, so but you gotta pay attention to where the nickel is, and you can tell because the nickel's gonna line right up with the wide receiver, and linebacker is not. So we want to flip it. Oh, actually, I did flip it. I'm sorry. Leave it back here. So we have the safety as the pitch man. The only thing we have to worry about is the linebacker scraping, which he's blocked, and the safety is the pitch man, so he has to deal with us. Safety's the pitch man here as well. And that's what you want. You really want that safety to be the pitch man because that safety is the pitch man. It's going to make it easy pickings for you here. All right, let's see what happens here. Yeah, they scraped on that. So if he comes down in the box there, this is the cover 4. You can tell by their alignment. And there we go. See, we got what we wanted. That safety as the pitch man. If that safety is the pitch man, if the nickel's the pitch man, we're still fine. We want that nickel to make a play. He doesn't, and look at this. We're gone. He went with the pitch man. All right, now that's it for this. Oh, I was supposed to hand it off there. But that's it for this video. If you like this content, please subscribe to the channel. I will be posting another video for us to spread in the next week. So look forward to seeing that. Like the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.